is the news and talk of Texas. Now, it's the Rick Roberts Show on 820 AM, 99.5 FM, HD2, News Talk 820 WBAP.
Well, I know there's got to be a few 100 million more like me, just trying to keep it free. Yeah.
Rick Roberts starts right now.
All right, 2:04 the time. Glad you're along. Coming up in just a little bit, we're going to be talking about Trump's historic statement of wanting to put the U.S. military on the border to guard it. He wants to guard the border until, tick-tock, tick-tock, until that wall is built. Well, since the wall cost $20 to $25 billion, they allocated $1 billion. I'm guessing it's going to be a while before we see a Berlin-style wall from the Pacific to Brownsville. That means the military could be deployed indefinitely, right? We're going to be talking with someone that has more than a passing knowledge of this. Alan West, an American political commentator, but more importantly in this regard, he's a retired U.S. Army lieutenant colonel. You may remember a former member of the U.S. House of Representatives. Great guy. And we're going to find out what he thinks about this idea of militarizing the southern border of the United States. That's coming up in just a little bit. You just heard from the WBAP newsroom, Nicole Osei, talking about a Plano council member. Says he won't resign over the anti-Islam post, despite all this backlash. Of course, he should have known this was coming. Perhaps he did. And he's been censured, evidently, by his colleagues. The city council chamber was packed, I guess, on Sunday. The community on display, the signs in the crowd, "Stay Tom," "No to hate," "Tom must resign," "Support Tom," "No political agendas," "No bigotry," and of course you can fill in the rest. Hundreds, I guess, gathered for this special session of the council, and it was to address an anti-Islam social media post. This is what they're calling it, an anti-Islam social media post that council member Tom Harrison shared Tuesday night. Now, the post, which included a photo of a student wearing the traditional headdress of Muslims, share if you think Trump should ban Islam in American schools. I'll give it to you again. See if you think this is anti-Islam. Now, I've had my share of run-ins with CARE. They did a nationwide boycott of my show and advertisers, which, by the way, helped quite a bit. I appreciated it. The Council on American Islamic Relations. I said, and this was probably 4 years ago, I said that we should call for a moratorium on all Muslims that were vetted as radical Islamists coming into the country. And we should monitor all mosques that we have in this country. I think there were 1,400 at the time. Good Lord. You'd have thought that I said, okay, as soon as I finish the show at 5, I'm going to be coming to each one of your homes, taking your first unborn child. I mean, it was nuts. It was crazy. It was just my opinion. A moratorium on immigrants from Muslim countries where we're having all this problem with radical Islamists. I didn't say never. You never can come to the U.S. I just said until we figure out what we've got within our own borders, until we understand what we're dealing with, don't add to the problem, potentially. Stop it. Common sense would dictate, stop the immigration, take a look around, figure out what you've got, and then revisit it. And yes, there is precedent for that. But in any case, this councilman said, share if you think Trump should ban Islam in American schools. He removed the post the following day and apologized online. I would love to speak with this councilman because, number one, I'm looking at this. What's anti-Islamic about it? He just simply said, doesn't belong in schools. You can't even say Merry Christmas acknowledging the Christian faith in schools. They don't put up the menorah in the windows of the schools for Jewish students, do they? No, they don't. But evidently, him removing the post and apologizing wasn't enough. About an hour behind closed doors, council members said they learned Harrison's post was not an isolated incident. They expressed their dismay, saying his words had split the community. Well, if those words, just those words, split the community, that says more about the community than it does him. They voted 7-1 to publicly censure Harrison. They asked him to resign. A few said that they wouldn't ask him to resign, but they hope he would. In a brief statement, Harrison said he would not quit. Let me get his statement here real quickly because I want to give it to you just as he said. I don't want to quote him erroneously here. He said, "I am not a xenophobic. I am not a bigot. I am not a racist. What I am is someone who was elected by the people to a job for everyone." Emphasis on everyone in Plano. The mayor's last name is very difficult. If you guys know, help me out. Mayor Harry LaRosiere, perhaps, said the censure is essentially a public admonishment and the only course of action available to the council. He's an elected official, so only the voters can remove him from office. His immediate resignation is the best course of action if he truly cares about the city. I could not disagree more. Has nothing to do with that post. That wasn't anti-Islamic, not in my brain. And if the community's that upset, then you got a community to deal with, not a city councilman. And you know my show. You know my background. I'm not easy on elected officials, especially at a local level. I mean, I wouldn't give you 10 cents for anything we've got in Dallas. Well, although the police chief and the mayor asked the crowd to remain respectful so the council members could speak, cheers and jeers and sign waving interrupted the meeting, I guess, quite a bit. "We love you, Tom," one person was shouting. "Resign," someone else yelled. Harrison, 73, was elected in 2015 to a 4-year term. In his apology posted to Facebook, he said the original post wrongfully implied, "I am anti-Muslim." I would have gotten rid of the wrongfully. I would have just said it implied I am anti-Muslim, and under no circumstances was that the intent of my post. I don't see anything anti-Islamic about it. My intent in putting this on my personal Facebook page was to emphasize that Christianity is not the only religion being targeted for exclusion in our public school. It was not meant as a personal attack against the Islamic faith. None of us are perfect. We all will be judged one day by a higher authority. Amen to that. Until then, I ask for forgiveness within the community and acceptance of my sincere apology. He declined to comment further, citing advice from his attorney. I hope he's got a good one, because I don't see that he did anything wrong. This hypersensitive, free to be you and me, hug a tree mentality, we're all victims. I mean, you can't say anything about Islam. First of all, I view it as a false doctrine. But that's my belief, right? That's my belief. I think people are in that faith. If you read the Quran, which I have, and one of the companion books, the Hadith, I think people are kept in it by fear and intimidation. I don't believe it to be a correct doctrine at all. And I believe their Allah is a false god. Okay, so now what? Throw Rick Roberts off the air? That's my opinion. That's what we do here. All right, 12 minutes after the hour, time to check your afternoon drive. When we come back, I'll take a call or two, and then Alan West will be joining us on News Talk 820 WBAP. All right, coming up in just a moment or two, we'll be talking with retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel and former member of the U.S. House of Representatives, Alan West. We'll be talking about his opinion on Trump militarizing the southern border of the U.S. In the meantime, we're going to take your calls, a few calls as we have time. We may get back to it. The Plano City Councilman that said, put up a post and said, share if you think Trump should ban Islam in American schools. I don't see anything wrong with that. It was a question, wasn't it? All right, let's go to Lucy in McKinney. Lucy, thank you for waiting. How you doing, Lucy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for taking my call, Rick.
Sure.
And I just wanted to say I stand 100% with Tom Harrison. I think he did the right thing. I think he is right not to resign and not to succumb to the bullying tactics of the dimmies in the Plano City Council and beyond. And, I just find it outrageous. I'm always like, you hear the word, oh, they're outraged that this happened. And, I'm outraged at the outrage that they always talk about, because if you take the word Muslim out of this, or Islam, and put in Christian, I'm against Christianity being taught in schools. Well, nobody would have said a thing.
Yep.
It wouldn't have been a peep. It wouldn't have been a blip.
Turn the other cheek. Yea, I say unto you, turn the other cheek. We've been turning cheeks so long in this country that the political correctness is just over the top. I don't see anything anti-Islamic about what he said. He asked a question. What's wrong with that?
Absolutely nothing. And I'm just always appalled at the hypocrisy of the two sides. It's like ACLU, freedom from religion, they get involved in something because someone got offended that somebody said a prayer, a coach said a prayer at the end of a game or beginning of a game. But yet we hear about Islam being taught kind of stealthily in schools. You hear, and this would be an interesting, I don't know if you could request people to call in and tell you if their students, if their kids are being taught about Islam in public schools, but I believe it is happening. I've heard multiple stories myself.
Well, they view it as a valid curriculum, Lucy, which is odd because you can't say Merry Christmas. It's got to be a winter solstice celebration. You can't do anything that smacks of Christianity that you can throw down a prayer rug in an empty classroom to provide room for Islam or Muslim students to pray. That doesn't make sense. Lucy, I've got to move. I appreciate the call very, very much. Let's go to Kevin. Kevin in Fort Worth. How you doing, Kevin?
I'm good, Rick. How are you?
Doing well.
I told your call guy there that the reason this has the problem is because he's going against the grain. You can't go bad against Islam because it's like a new buzzword.
Oh, tell me about it. I mean, when I gave my opinion, and after all, that's what talk radio is. I wasn't being blasphemous, maybe to some people, if they believe a certain way, but I gave my opinion. I said we ought to call for a moratorium on all Muslims coming from those countries where we're having a problem with radical Islamists. I mean, how do you tell a moderate Muslim from a radical Islamist? I don't know. They don't wear name tags as far as I know. So I said until we can figure out what we've already got within the borders of this country, monitoring mosques and figuring out who's real and who's Memorex, you ought to call for a moratorium. Good Lord. You wouldn't believe it. At that time, I was hitting California, Las Vegas, Lake Tahoe, some other states, and it was the program directors were just inundated. They were deluged with all these, fire Rick Roberts, he foments hate. No, he has an opinion that's different than yours. That's what this entire venue is all about. I've read the Quran. I've read the Hadith. I don't personally, my personal opinion, I don't believe it to be a valid faith. I don't believe it to be a theology. I believe it to be an ideology. Now, if you don't like that, well, then we disagree. But, no, I wasn't going to. You ought to quit that job behind the microphone. No, I don't believe I will. Kevin, I appreciate the call very, very much. All right, we'll probably get back to that. As a matter of fact, we've reached out to the councilman in Plano. He's got an attorney, and that's good. Hope it's a good one. I wouldn't make any more apologies. You're just giving credibility to those people that think, you didn't do anything wrong. At least not that I can see, unless you've got another post. All right. Let me do this. Now, we're going to break a little bit early, about a minute early, because I want, is it Eric, is it Nicole?
It'll be Eric Bushman.
Okay. Eric Bushman will be in. Nicole Osei had our last newscast. Eric Bushman standing by at the WBAP news desk. And then we'll be talking to Alan West, retired lieutenant colonel, about his opinion on militarizing the southern border of the United States. All right, 2:31 the time. Busy show today. The Plano councilman that's been the subject of all this ridicule, even the community thinking about recalling him because they say he posted an anti-Islam post. Basically, all he said was, share if you think Trump should stop Islam in schools. He's going to be with me at 3 o'clock. We'll find out from the man himself. I'm very, very pleased to have with me once again a guy I have a lot of respect for. I have for many, many years. Alan West. Of course, he's a political commentator now. He retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel, former member of the U.S. House of Representatives. I say a lot. Yes, I know a lot of people in D.C. I work there. I train people there. Going from Steve Largent when I was in high school playing football, there are a few really stand-up, reliable representatives that you can count on to do the right thing, whether it's popular or not, willing to make career-ending decisions on behalf of the American people and the country in which they live. Alan West is one of those people. Lieutenant Colonel, thank you for being with me once again. How you doing?
Well, doggone, Rick, thanks so much. I don't know what to say after those words.
It's true. It's you. It's true.
Thank you.
I ask you for this reason. Yesterday, Trump said he wanted to militarize the southern border. Now, a lot of people said, well, at least it's something. I have long said there's no political will to secure and maintain a border to the south. Otherwise, it would have been done about 30 minutes after the second tower fell on 9/11. Too many people are making money off this. Too many people are getting voting blocks out of this. So, it doesn't surprise me. Today, he said, I'm going to take strong action today on border laws. I'll give you all the details tomorrow. Of course, we'll have those. What do you think of his idea?
Well, first of all, let's speak about the facts. It's called posse comitatus.
Right.
And so, therefore, just the same as, no Roman legion could ever enter into the gates of Rome, you cannot use your federal military force as a domestic force. We don't have arrest capability or authority or anything like that. Now, what can happen is you can use the National Guard under the auspices of the governors of the respective states that are on borders to be down there and augment Border Patrol or other law enforcement agencies. But again, they don't have those same arrest or detainment authorities. We used to have an organization called JTF 6, Joint Task Force 6,
right,
and that was under the Northern Command, because you do have a combatant command that is responsible for operations, here in the continental United States. But what they do is provide, aerial surveillance, intelligence gathering systems, but they cannot actively engage in, again, detaining, arresting, anything with people coming across the border. So if the president wants to federalize the National Guard, that could be a means that he could use. Let's remember Eisenhower federalized the National Guard when it came to the desegregation activities there in Little Rock, Arkansas. So there are some very specific cases that the president can use, but you can't put the federal government, forces, the active duty military on the border in that capacity.
Well, Lieutenant Colonel West, the way I read the Posse Comitatus Act, a lot of people don't realize why this thing came about in the first place. We all think of Lincoln as a great man, and he was in his own right. But a lot of people got worried when he got rid of or suspended habeas corpus during the Civil War.
Yes.
That's where this thing came from. As I read this thing, no, they can't literally engage as they would in a foreign country. A task force, the National Guard, obviously, they can even be directed by a governor. But the military can't do anything other than back up. As assist, if you will, the Border Patrol, what have you. The Northern Command, as you say, we've got ships out there, we've got planes, we've got drones, we've got all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, they can provide those, I would say, combat service support or combat support type of activities, but they cannot be actively engaged. You know, one of the things that I've always thought is you take the United States Border Patrol and maybe you should put them under the Department of Defense, give them those specialized,
I agree.
Specialized rights, detainment rights, arrest rights, and things of this nature. But the most important thing is that they would have access to a different level of equipment because our border is porous and we need to be able to protect it. You know, not everyone's coming across the border just to come here in America and work in the hospitality industry or, construction. There's some bad actors coming across the board, to include the drug cartels, the transnational criminal organizations that are supporting a lot of the things. So I think that there are many other different things that we can look to do. And furthermore, if you have the United States Border Patrol as part of the Department of Defense, let's say you had a soldier, sailor, airman, marine who have been active duty and they've been, fighting in Iraq, Afghanistan, conducting border security operations. They can transition over to the United States Border Patrol.
Sure.
They can take those skills and those tactics and techniques that they learn, and they can be employed right here in the United States of America. So there are some long-term strategic things that I think that we can look at if we do not get some type of border obstacle security measures put in place.
You know, I couldn't agree more. Many people don't, well, maybe they do, but I've got a lot of law enforcement in my family background. Even my son-in-law is a canine officer with a police department. But just like him, a lot of new recruits to the police and law enforcement across this nation transitioned out of the military. His job, I mean, of course, I call him a kid. He's a kid to me, but, he's an older guy. He was training police officers in Iraq. And when he came back, finished out his degree, always wanted to be a police officer, which was, my daughter was going to law school, and I thought, okay, how's this going to work? And he treats my daughter like a queen, couldn't ask for a better guy. But a lot of police officers do that. They transition out of the military into police academies all over the nation. So, the Border Patrol being put under, a different government entity makes perfect sense.
Well, yeah, because I think that we have to come to realize that what the United States Border Patrol is doing is it's a military-style mission. They are actively patrolling our borders to make sure that, the wrong type of individuals are not able to cross those borders. And they're defending the sovereignty of the United States of America. So I think that that's an option that the president should look at, looking ahead. Maybe, federalizing some of the National Guard units, or maybe, looking to Texas and asking them to employ their National Guard. But if you ask Texas to employ their National Guard or any other state along the border, then you need to be the federal government that steps up and provides the funding and the resources, and not just push down an unfunded liability or mandate.
Absolutely. And, of course, Texas is kind of important. It's almost 2,000 miles of the southern border.
No kidding.
Today, Trump said, well, the White House said on his behalf, maybe giving a bit more specifics, he was deploying the National Guard to secure the nation's border with Mexico, and he would have more details, outline the details tomorrow. Whether that comes to fruition or not, we'll have to wait and see. But in a nutshell, Lieutenant Colonel West, the idea, whether it's National Guard or the services backing up the Border Patrol, whatever it is it a good idea to militarize, because that's in effect what we're doing, the southern border?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it is a good idea to make sure that we have a capability match and overmatch to the individuals that are trying to infiltrate our border. Look at what is going on with Israel right now in Gaza with Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist organization.
Right.
And, what Israel has done, they put the IDF, their defense force, along that border because it is an infiltration. It is an assault. It is an attack. And 10 of the 17 people that were killed by the IDF, they were members of Hamas and Islamic Jihad. So the exact same thing we need to look at here to make sure that we are protecting the sovereignty of the United States of America. So I think it is important that we put the right type of deterrent measures along our border. If people want to keep stiff arming the president on providing that border security wall and an integrated system, then we've got to do what is most necessary, and that's put boots on the ground.
I couldn't agree more with you. As far as the wall goes, people keep yelling for they want a Berlin-style wall. Some guys say, we can do this. Look at what China did with the Great Wall. Well, that's 13,000 miles and took a couple thousand years to complete. I don't think we want to wait that long. And the Berlin Wall really was there to secure 27 miles, although it was a little bit longer. It's not analogous to what Trump is saying. Overall, Lieutenant Colonel, how do you believe this president has done in the first year?
I tell you that in looking at President Trump, who I know personally because, several of his properties were in the district I represent when I was down in South Florida, you have to separate two different things. You have to look at Trump from a policy perspective. You have to look at it from, a persona perspective. I think that what provides the most angst and animus against him is the persona perspective. But if you look at the policies of President Trump, it's very hard to disagree with the things that he's doing. Look, our economy, all the major indicators are strong, 45-year low for first-time jobless claims, incredible unemployment in the Black and the Hispanic communities. You see what is happening with economic growth, our GDP growth. Look, we don't hear anything. We're not talking about ISIS anymore and Islamic jihadism and terrorism. And he's making a hard stance against China, and it's about time that someone did that, as well as North Korea and also Iran, I think.
Amen.
So, policy-wise, you can say what you want. I mean, he gets an A+. Should he tweet a little bit less? Probably so. But, I'm from Georgia. I'm not in New York, and we got kind of different personalities and how we approach things. So I think that's how you can look at President Trump. But I will tell you that the United States of America is stronger, is respected, and we're on the right course.
Alan West, retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel, former member of the U.S. House of Representatives. It's always, and I mean this sincerely, it's always a pleasure to have you on, and I appreciate the attitude that you come to these issues with. Maybe that Georgia background, the get it done with all the pomp and circumstances is what I'm hearing, but it's always a pleasure to talk with you, sir.
Well, thank you so much, Rick, and call on me anytime, my friend.
All right. Alan West, it's always a pleasure to have him. 2:43 the time. Let's check that afternoon drive. 2:47 the time. Again, my thanks to Lieutenant Colonel retired Alan West. I appreciate politicians that just get right to it. They don't have the 3x5 cards that, several aides and a branding agent and a public relation person put together for him the day before. And, they simply read that instead of answering the question. Alan West is cut from a different bolt of cloth. He'll tell you exactly his answer, whether you like it or not. Well, speaking of that, you've been hearing about it all morning out of the WBAP News Center. A Plano City councilman is being asked to resign. Now we're hearing that they may try to recall him. Of course, this is all over. It's the what they call the anti-Islam and now anti-Black postings. I read his posting. As a matter of fact, the anti-Black thing I don't get at all, because he said, in the 19th century, all slave owners were Democrats. It's true. Democrats created the KKK in the South. I gave you a complete history of Democrats, Republicans, and racism. It's on the WBAP website. It's not my opinion. It is citing factual historical documentation. The Democrats created the KKK primarily to harass freed black men and what they called at the time radical Republicans, which were Republicans trying to allow black people to vote. In the 19th century, all slave owners were Democrats. That's true. In the 21st century, all slave owners are Muslims. Their allies are the Democrats. And if you look at that figuratively, that's true too. Another showed a picture of President Johnson, read black children born without a father in the home rate pre-LBJ's Great Society welfare system in 1964. 7% black children born without a father in the home rate post-LBJ's Great Society 2014, now 73%. That's factual information. That's not anti-anything. How many times have I had Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson, creator of Bond, Brotherhood of a New Destiny, from Los Angeles on this show? He's on Fox all the time. We've talked about this. That's factual information. He did say, this is, I'm assuming, coming from him, hey, liberals, how's your great society working out for the black family now? That's absolutely true. You know, I just played for you yesterday the EBT instruction video. It's absolutely true. It's factual information. You know, I couldn't have said it better myself. Hey, liberals, how's that great society, that welfare system, how's that working out for you? But more importantly, how is it not working out for the black family? You know, I've had black activists. I played that video for you, or that audio for you. You know, they started. All of a sudden, the light went on and said, wait a minute, why have we voted for Democrats for the last half century? All we get is a turkey at Thanksgiving and a toy at Christmas, and they drive off in their new Escalade to the suburbs. Now, what happened to my brother's keeper money? What happened to all this great society welfare system? I mean, all Obama gave them was abortion on demand and a $15 minimum wage. For what? There's no jobs in their area. The infrastructure is crumbling. The schools are crumbling. That's not a political issue. That's not even a partisan issue. Those are the facts. That's the way it is. And that's what happens when you keep promising things that you can't deliver, which is exactly what the Democrats have done for the last half century. Don't vote for Republicans. Don't vote for them. Something bad. You're going to end up back in chains. Don't vote for them. Vote for us. We're going to fix those streets, replace those street lights, fix the schools, bring jobs back to the ghetto. We're going to do. Nobody's doing nothing. There's been nothing. So everything he said is factually correct. I've said the same thing on this show. Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson has said the same thing on this show. Many people that are involved with this have said the same thing. Are they celebrating the downfall of the black community by the federal government? No, they're pointing it out. Look, that's what Trump meant when he said, hey, might as well try something different, talking about you've been voting for Democrats for 50 years, nothing's changed, might as well try something different. Well, they are now. They're not being led around, in my words, by the new slave masters of the 21st century. They're saying, hey, you know, you promised a $15 minimum wage for jobs. We don't have any jobs here. Hey, abortion on demand. We don't want abortion on demand. We don't want welfare. We want an opportunity. We want a level playing field. You can't give a level playing field if you want to lord over a specific ethnic group or part of the country. You can't do that. Because if you did that, all of a sudden, the black community would find out, wait a minute, I don't need Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton or my brother's keeper or Barack Obama. If I've got equal footing as everybody else, guess what? I can read and write and critically think and make it on my own. See, that's why they don't have anything, because they've been voting for Democrats almost unanimously for a half century, because the Democrats keep telling them, if you vote for Republicans, something bad's going to happen to you. If you vote for me, I'm going to help you out. Well, take a look around. Nothing's changed in 50 years. Give the black community equal footing. Give them a level playing field. Give them the same advantages as far as access and opportunity that everybody else has. And guess what? All of a sudden, they don't need the Democrats, because they can critically think. They are educated. They can start businesses. They can be successful. But if they find that out, they don't need the Democrats anymore. That's why the Democrats haven't given them anything except a $15 minimum wage for jobs that don't exist in the black communities and abortion on demand. All right. We're going to talk to that councilman, as a matter of fact. I don't know why he apologized. Maybe you can tell me. But I don't see anything that he said that is wrong. As a matter of fact, he was more correct and more accurate on the black post than he was on the Islam post. And I've asked the same thing. You know, why do we make accommodation for Muslims in public schools? Public schools, yes, the federal government's paying for it, but so are you. Why do we make accommodation for that so-called theology, which I don't believe to be a theology? I think it's an ideology. Why do we do that and not any other theology? I'm still stumped by that. I know the politically correct nut jobs, if you'd say anything, they come out of the woodwork, and then other people that can't think for themselves glob onto the movement. That's why you had 1 million kids in the street a couple Saturdays ago. They didn't know what they were there for. I don't know, everybody else is here, so I am too. No, the guy shouldn't resign. Matter of fact, he ought to put up a feature post every week. I'd promote it. All right. We'll be talking to the Plano City Councilman, Mr. Harrison, coming up here. First, we're going to check your afternoon drive, give you a look at the weather, and Eric Bushman will give you the very latest breaking news on News Talk 820 WBAP.
This is the news and talk of Texas. Now, it's the Rick Roberts Show on 820 AM, 99.5 FM, HD2, News Talk 820 WBAP.
Well, I know there's got to be a few 100 million more like me, just trying to keep it free. Yeah.
Rick Roberts starts right now.
And good afternoon, 5 minutes after the 3 o'clock hour. Glad you're along. We're with you every day, Monday through Friday. Your afternoon drive from 2 to 5 every afternoon. It's toll-free all over the country from coast to coast. 1-800-288-WBAP, 1-800-288-9227. He's a Plano City Council member, and they initially called for his resignation. He said, no, I will not resign. Now it looks as though several people have spearheaded a recall effort. Tom Harrison from Plano, Texas, is with me. And, Councilman, thanks for being along. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. I've read this thing. I vetted it a little bit. You're accused of sharing a post from Facebook titled Joined Hands Across America for Trump. I don't see anything wrong with that. You have a meme which showed a young girl wearing a traditional Muslim head covering, and it read, share if you think Trump should ban Islam in American schools. When I first read that, I thought, okay, well, what's anti-Islam about that? You tell me how you first heard about all this controversy.
It really started out, there was a person and I were talking, and what came up was the candy cane issue that we had in PISD some time back. He was under the assumption that it was still in place, and I said, no, I think it isn't. But because of that conversation, when I saw that, I'm going, wow, that's something that we could kind of foster the conversation back and forth between and I, the discussion. So I clicked on it and to share it. Unfortunately, I'm not that good with computers and things, so it's an open. Today I have a website that's private for family only, but I clicked on it and it went out, and I guess it is what the lady that I hired to go for. I said I want to know what's going on here, called clickbait, which means there are some when you click on certain sites, it goes out. And Facebook puts cookies in the background that you can't tell. She said, if you're on your computer, it usually pops up and says, do you want this to go out publicly or do you want it to go out privately?
I get that, yeah.
Okay.
Are you saying, Councilman?
If you do that on your phone, that doesn't pop up. So you don't know.
Are you saying, Councilman, that the post about share if you think Trump should ban Islam in American schools was not to be made public?
No, not basically from what happened to it. The thing that upsets me is I am not that kind of person, anti-Islamic. I at one time when I was at Xerox Corporation, I was the EEOC coordinator for the state of Kansas. So I'm not that kind of a person. But what showed up was that I didn't know about it until the day they had the executive session. Somehow that morphed into slavery, tearing down statues of
Confederate people, and homeless vets. Now, I'm for homeless vets. I want them to be taken care of. They took care of me. I'm a vet, and I would appreciate it if somebody took care of them. So those three items popped up. I don't know where they came from. I've never seen them before.
Okay, wait just a second. Wait a second, Councilman. I want to be totally clear here. All right.
Okay.
Did you post the meme and share if you think Trump should ban Islam in American schools? Did you do that?
Yes, I posted nothing. I shared a post.
Okay, you shared it with whom?
I posted nothing. With people that I've been talking to. I'm not going to tell you who I was talking to.
No. I'm not asking for that.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to get to here is because I don't see that you've done anything wrong.
I agree with you.
But I'm trying to figure out, the cookies and private versus public and all that. That to me has no standing in this at all.
The person I had, that's because that's where they came up with that. I assume with the anti-Islamic thing. I don't know where it came from. There were things said on there about slavery and Muslims.
Well, I see
I don't know where it came from.
I see the information. Another showed a picture of President Lyndon Johnson and read "Black children born without a father, the home rate pre-LBJ's Great Society welfare system in '64, 7%. Black children born without a father in the home rate post LBJ's Great Society is 73%. And then the comment, hey, well, first of all, that's accurate. I've talked about it on the show. And then the comment, hey, liberals, how's your Great Society working out for the black family? Did you, in fact, post that?
I did not.
Where did it come from?
I have no idea.
So you never did? You never had a hand in posting this or sharing this?
I have never seen that before.
Okay, because
I've never seen that before.
You're aware that the news gathering agencies are attributing that post to you.
And they're doing it erroneously. They're contributing through someone else, not me.
All right.
Because I have everything. I have said. I have everything in there, and that's why. Don't take this wrong way, because be a WPAP. I think Dallas a little better. If you say something, somebody's going to twist it.
Well, not on this show. It doesn't happen on this show. That's why I ask very pointed and specific questions, because if you're on this show, the truth comes out.
Okay.
The mayor said the city council had learned about these equally offensive posts again from you. Said that you're unfit for office, and you said, no, I won't resign. And if you didn't do that, you didn't do it. That needs to be brought out. But again, even if you did do it, it's basically a learning moment, because everything about LBJ's Great Society welfare system, black children born without a father, all of that is correct. And all of it's correct. And then another post where it's attributed to you, saying that, in pre-19th century, all slaveholders were Democrats, and now they're all Muslims aided by the Democrats. Did you post that?
I did not. I have never seen that before.
Okay, so
it was given to me by the city.
Did you tell the mayor and the rest of the council members? I don't know where this came from. I didn't do it.
I went through it, and I told them I had my attorney for that meeting. They would not allow him in there. And basically my advice to my attorney was, be careful what you say. Do not say anything on advice of your attorney.
Okay, well,
if you want, that's where that came from. So no, did I tell him? No, I did not.
Okay, this is not a court of law. This is a court of public opinion. We deal in opinion,
yes.
And this show we deal with truth. That's why it might sound like I'm kind of getting after you a little bit. I'm not.
I don't mind you getting after me.
I just want to bring the truth out, and I want to make sure. I want to be because first of all, even if you did post this, which you are saying you didn't. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's not anti-Islam. I called for a moratorium on immigration of Muslims from radical Islamic countries, 4 years ago, and 25,000 emails went out from CARE to my employers. So don't worry about that. I'm just trying to figure out who is it that's going after you if you didn't do this? I
do not know.
I'm talking to Tom Harrison. He is the city council member that is going through all this right now. They wanted him to resign. He said he wouldn't. I don't think he should. And then they said, okay, well, we'll recall him. Well, who's behind this? Who's spearheading this? Let's talk about that in just a moment. And Mr. Harrison, your indulgence, if you don't mind, I got to step aside, check afternoon drive, be right back. I don't understand. This is a bigger story than I thought it was. If he didn't do it, who's gunning for him? All right, this is Rick Roberts, the Court of Public Opinion on News Talk 820 WBAP. We're with you every day, Monday through Friday, from 2 to 5, your afternoon drive. With me is Plano City Councilman Tom Harrison. You've probably read about him in the newspaper, heard news reports on radio and television. Supposedly, he's been accused of anti-Islam and anti-black posts. Now, I want to be first of all, Mr. Harrison, let me say thank you for indulging me and hanging for another segment. I appreciate that.
No problem.
I want to be completely crystal clear by the time we say goodbye. I'm going to give you 3 things. Tell me if in any way, shape, or form you authored any of it on Facebook or anywhere else. President Trump.
I authored none of it. I shared a post that I found.
Okay. President Trump, share if you believe, if you think Trump should ban Islam in schools. Did you author that?
I did not.
Okay. Did you share it from someone else?
I shared it. It was on my website, on my Facebook site, and I shared it.
Okay.
Now
wait just a second.
Thing to that.
Wait just a minute. Let me go through these so we can be clear. I don't want to get lost in the minutia of this. The black children born without a father, pre and post LBJ's Great Society. Did you author any of that or share that?
I did not, and I have never seen it before.
Did you say, hey, liberals, how's your Great Society working out for the black family?
I did not, and I never saw that before.
All right. So basically, what did you apologize for? If you never authored any of this, what was your apology meant to accomplish? What was it for?
I use an analogy a little bit. The apology was done.
I'm sorry?
The apology was done for one reason. If I go to a movie theater and I step on your foot when I'm going in there, I say, excuse me. This thing came out, and a hubbub came out with the mayor in his press conference. While at that press conference, he asked me to be at it, but I didn't know about it until it had started. So I had no idea that it was going on. And I just apologize because if I made somebody angry, I'm sorry.
No, I get that, but this transcends niceties. You've retained an attorney.
Not with me.
Well,
not with me. I feel sorry if I have some.
Okay, here's the thing. City Councilman for Plano, Tom Harrison, has just told me he did not author any of those things that I have heard in news reports, television, radio, print media. You are telling me you didn't author any of that.
I did not author any of that.
And further, you did not share someone else's post with that in the content, correct?
I shared the post that said that Trump should ban Islam in public schools.
That's the only thing, not the anti-black, not any of the rest of this. You're saying you didn't do?
No, I did not do that.
Okay, well...
And again, I'll reiterate, I was the coordinator for the EEOC when it first came out in 1974.
May I ask? It's a professional question, but if you didn't author any of this, and it's being attributed to you, and a possible community recall vote may be taken, who do you believe is responsible for this?
I have an opinion, but I don't know that it's really worth anything.
Well, it's when you have to get an attorney and the entire city and now the entire country is looking at you, you should defend yourself. Is there someone that you believe is looking to harm you politically?
Yes.
Are you willing to name that name?
I would rather not, but if it meant the difference between, I don't know how to really say this, to be honest.
Well, it strikes at the heart of your credibility, Mr. Harrison. Let me
tell you this part about it.
All right.
Let me go through this. The mayor, Ariel Rosselier, was getting a lot of heat because he boycotted President Trump's infrastructure meeting in support of sanctuary cities. He also has an issue going on right now with water. He is looking for some way to deflect that. This happened to be a way to do it. If you will notice, every time the mayor gets a chance, he comes after me. The reason he does is because I do not support his Plano Tomorrow plan, which is making Plano into an urban center and not a suburban town.
So am I to take from this, Mr. Harrison, that you believe, your opinion only, that the mayor of Plano is in some way, shape, or form a part of this smear campaign?
Yes.
You believe the mayor is somehow, some way involved with these things that you say you did not post, but instead you were shocked to see them as anyone else?
I am.
May I ask you a name? I don't know this person, Ann Bacchus. Do you believe that person had anything to do with this smear campaign?
Yes, she is a Democratic precinct chair.
So between the mayor of Plano and Ann Bacchus, you believe that they are in some way, shape, or form involved in this smear campaign on you?
Yes.
Mr. Harrison, if you have evidence of this, well, I'm sure your attorney will vet that, but you need to get in front of this. If you didn't do this, if you didn't post this, you need to get in front of it and tell the world, I didn't do this. I didn't post this, and certainly Facebook records are recoverable. That would exonerate you from this.
If I could prove it, I would. That's why I said there's no need talking about it. There is no way to prove it. I can't prove.
Well, there is, and I'm sure your attorney will handle that. At the end of the day, you say you didn't do this. You say that the mayor and this Ann Bacchus are involved in some form or fashion in a smear campaign against you politically. What's the next step for you, Mr. Harrison?
The next step for me that I am looking at is to negate both of them. And what I'm doing is I'm saying I'm not going to resign. If you want to put it on the ballot, it's going to cost the city probably, I think, because they have to go to the county and get my name and all this put onto the ballot in November. But the number that I got, I'm also a GOP precinct chair, so I know a little bit about this. Not much, but a little bit. It's going to cost him about $150,000 that he's going to take of taxpayer money to put this on the ballot. And I personally absolutely believe the people that elected me are the same ones that are going to reelect me. And they will not run me out of office.
All right. I've got to cut this short. Plano City Councilman Harrison has been with me. And just for the record, one more time, I know it's redundant, but it's important. You say, aside from the what is being perceived as anti-Islam post, you never posted, you never authored, you never shared anything about the LBJ, black children born without fathers. You never shared anything having to do with anything but that what's being considered that anti-Islam post. And you believe the mayor and Ann Bacchus, I guess it is, are in some way involved in this smear campaign against you, correct?
Yes, that's my assumption.
Okay.
I believe that is happening. I can't prove who's doing it. All I know is it just seems quite coincidental.
All right, Mr. Harrison, first of all, I appreciate your candor. I appreciate you coming on short notice. And again, the next call I would make after a talk show host is your attorney, and hopefully he's aware of everything you just said to me. Because if you're innocent, you need to get in front of this train, because politically it can be quite devastating. I'm Rick Roberts. Eric Bushman standing by. My apologies for being a little late. He's at the WBAP news desk, the very latest breaking news, and we'll check your afternoon drive. Back with your calls on News Talk 820 WBAP. 3:34 the time. I'm Rick Roberts. This is the Court of Public Opinion. Your voice, your opinion, your attitude on the issues of the day. My thanks to Plano Councilman Harrison for coming on and being so forthright. To wrap it up, he's been accused of anti-Islamic posts on social media, anti-black posts on social media. Pretty bad. They're calling, they wanted him to resign. He said he would not. I've read the Islam post. I don't see anything bad about that. And I don't see anything that's inaccurate about the black post, but he said he didn't post those. Those were evidently given by the mayor of Plano, which, by the way, we're reaching out to because Mr. Harrison believes that the mayor of Plano and Ann Bacchus, a Democrat, she was running for the city council, evidently. He believes that both of those individuals are behind in some way this smear campaign. Well, what's the mayor have to say? I don't know. What's Miss Bacchus have to say? We're, as I said, trying to reach out to them. Let's go to your calls. Let's go to David. David, thank you for waiting. How you doing, David?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Good.
Good. Yeah, thank you for getting Mr. Harrison to come out on that. That's why I called and, in fact, wrote you an email on this. I'm convinced that the mayor and the Democrats behind the mayor are behind this, because this has been going on for some time. It's just not Mr. Harrison. The mayor and his supporters have been trying to urbanize Plano since he came into office. And he was on the zoning committee in Plano for some years before that, so they've rezoned plots of land that were single-family units to now they're multi-family units. And in between, we've got thousands of new apartments in Plano. The traffic has gotten worse, but he ran into the mayor ran into some opposition from people like myself, and we've took a signature down, and we're suing the city for making decisions without going to the public. And Mr. Harrison is one of several people who were voted onto the city council to oppose the mayor. And the mayor and his cronies will do, as you can see, just about anything to get rid of anybody who opposes him. And
this is beyond a small town being overbuilt. Or I understand that very, very well. But when certain posts on social media are attributed to you, and you didn't do them, and Mr. Harrison, save for what's being perceived the anti-Islamic post, all slave owners in the 19th century, all slave owners were Democrats. In the 21st century, all slave owners are Muslims. They're allies of the Democrats. And then talking about black children born without fathers, he said he didn't author those. He didn't share those. He's never seen those. If this is part of a smear campaign, it needs to come out sooner rather than later.
Oh, I agree with you, and I think there's more behind this. This is also, if you follow politics, Collin County is one of the most conservative counties in the United States. You could not run for an office here and be a Democrat. I mean, the election was the primary, basically. Now you will see there are several Democrats running for office in November this year.
All right. When he mentioned
turning Colin blue.
He mentioned Ann Bacchus, and I am not familiar with her. He said that along with the mayor, he believes Ann Bacchus is in some form or fashion, part of the smear campaign. She's a Democrat. I guess she was running for city council at one time.
Yes.
What do you know about Ann Bacchus, if anything?
I know very little about her. Honestly, like I say, I'm not a Democrat, clearly. And I don't follow Democrats, what they're doing, other than the broad brush type of things that they're trying to do. And it's clear they put out 2 or 3 years ago the effort to turn Collin County blue. And I think they're killing two birds with this stone. They're putting in thousands of new apartments, also new Section 8 housing that they've been pushing, and thereby they're bringing in their natural voters.
Well, I appreciate your opinion, David. As I said, I don't like painting with a broad brush on this show, and Mr. Harrison felt that maybe I had a bias. I have no bias whatsoever. Other than I'm seeking the truth. I'm pretty hard on city council people. I'm pretty hard on mayors, because if you don't get it right at that level, as you move up the political ladder, you're not going to get it right someplace else. Yes, I talk to Darrell Issa quite often. I talk to, just got finished with retired Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. I've got a lot of friends at the federal level, but the local level is where it all begins. And if somebody is taking part in a smear campaign for whatever reason, that should be vetted and that should be made public. As I said before, I don't know the mayor of Plano. I don't know this woman named Ann Bacchus of Plano. But according to Mr. Harrison, he believes they are involved at some level in a smear campaign against him. Well, I'll get one answer because when we come back, Ann Bacchus just called in, and she says she's ready to tell her side of this story in Plano, and we've reached out to the mayor. So we'll find out what Ms. Bacchus has to say, and we'll take your calls. 1-800-288-WBAP, 1-800-288-9227. I'm Rick Roberts. This is News Talk, 820 WBAP. Okay, 3:46 the time. Glad you're along. We just spoke for about a half an hour with Plano City Councilman Tom Harrison at the center of now a national controversy. I'm just reading in the Washington Post about what he's accused of doing. He said he didn't do it. Other than the Islam Post, which I've read, I don't see anything too bad there. But as far as the Black Post and the Muslim Post being Democrats, I won't go into it right now. He said he believed the mayor of Plano and Ann Bacchus were behind the smear campaign in some form or fashion. Ann Bacchus is called in on the WBAP talk line, and I'm going to get right to her because evidently she's got a cell phone that's just about dead. Ms. Bacchus, thanks for joining us. All right. Okay, that's we'll try this again. Ms. Bacchus? Okay. Can you bring her up? Okay, well, it's not working here either. So I did. It's not working. This is odd. Let's try it again. Okay. Evidently, we can't. All right. Do we have her? Okay. This is. I don't know exactly what's going on. Is her cell phone dead? Is that the problem?
Right now it's still on, but she's not picking up right now.
Oh, she's not picking up. Okay. Well, in that case, let's go to somebody that has picked up the phone and dialed into the show. Let's go to Mark in Plano. Mark, thank you for waiting. I appreciate it. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you having this issue on for Councilman Harrison.
Okay, I can barely hear you, Mark.
Let me try that. Is that better?
There we go. That works.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for having this issue on about Tom Harrison. He's a good guy, and he's been treated very unfairly.
Well, I mean, this is, first of all, I read the supposed anti-Islam post. That's not anti-anything. He gave his opinion. As far as the post calling that the mayor talked about, which was in the pre-19th century, I won't go into it. I'll do it at the top of the hour. He said he never authored those or shared those. In the 19th century, all slave owners were Democrats, which is true. In the 21st century, all slave owners are Muslims. Their allies are the Democrats. He said he didn't author that. He said he didn't post that. And then the other post that the mayor talked about was black children born without a father in the home before LBJ's Great Society welfare system in 1964 was 7%. Black children born without a father in the home after LBJ's Great Society in 2014 was 73%. That's factually accurate. And then the, hey, liberals, how's your Great Society working out for the black family? He said he didn't author that or share that. So if he didn't do this, only one of two things can be at play here. Either Plano City Councilman Tom Harrison is lying to me and the constituency, or someone is involved in a smear campaign to get this guy recalled.
Well, and that's exactly what's happened. Harry's actions aren't those of someone that's concerned about bringing the city together. Every effort was clearly motivated by politics. No one even knew about this this thing that Tom shared until the mayor called a press conference to stir up trouble. And then he called a special meeting of the city council at noon on a Sunday, of all things, where he fabricated a pattern of behavior with those posts that you just cited that nobody knew about until he brought these up at this special meeting. He then used those alleged posts that Tom made to beat the city council members over the head until he got them all to side with him on suggesting that Councilman Harrison resign. He may have violated the Open Meetings Act because it appeared that 5 of the city councilmen knew about these other posts, but the 2 that tend to side with Councilman Harrison didn't. He bullied people that came in and spoke in favor of Councilman Harrison later at the next city council meeting, and it's all just an effort to divert attention from the fact that he boycotted the mayor's, the president's meeting on infrastructure in Washington and other things that he's done over the years, including jamming through the so-called ERO ordinance and the so-called Plano Tomorrow plan that have all been opposed by thousands of Plano citizens. And Harry's just, he can't stand any sort of dissent. He wants it his way without argument.
Well, I will say, and I appreciate your opinion and your call. The only dog I have in this fight is truth. Whether you're the mayor of Dallas or the mayor of New York or the mayor of Plano, Texas, Councilman Tom Harrison just said he believed the mayor, in concert with a woman named Ann Bacchus, Democrat, are behind this smear campaign. If that's the case, we need to find out. No, I wouldn't know Tom Harrison if he walked in my studio right now. But you don't do smear campaigns like this against anybody. This is the seamy underbelly of American politics. And I won't abide it. You shouldn't, as the voting public, abide it either. Miss Bacchus, I guess, was on a dead cell phone. Is that right, David?
Yes, sir.
Okay. She going to a different line? Is that what's going on? Hold on just a second. I think Ann Bacchus, that Councilman Tom Harrison said is behind the smear campaign, along with the mayor of Plano. I think we're trying to make contact with her. Miss Bacchus, you have an open door invitation. I'm giving equal time to everybody. We've reached out to the mayor. We've reached out to Ann Bacchus, and she actually called in. We're having trouble getting her on the air for some reason. So let's do this. Let me step aside. We'll go to the WBAP newsroom with Eric Bushman, very latest breaking news. We'll check your weather and traffic as well, and we'll try to get Miss Bacchus on. What does she say about the city councilman saying she's part of a smear campaign?
This is the news and talk of Texas. Now, it's the Rick Roberts Show on 820 AM, 99.5 FM, HD2, News Talk 820, WBAP.
Well, I know there's got to be a few 100 million more like me, just trying to keep it free. Yeah.
Rick Roberts starts right now.
4:03 the time. Now, just to give you a recap, Miss Bacchus evidently is traveling with a dead cell phone. She said she wants to come on, tell her side of the story. She, as I look at this, announced a bid for Plano City Council March 31st of 2017. She is an attorney specializing in family law, announced her candidacy for the, I guess, place 2 seat on the Plano City Council. Now, again, I don't know Attorney Bacchus, nor do I know personally the mayor of Plano. And the first I have ever spoken with, Tom Harrison, with the Plano City Council, was today, when I initially read what was going on via the Washington Post, if you can believe that. The Washington Post, it doesn't paint him in a very good light. A Texas council member advocated for banning Islam in schools, refuses to resign. That's basically the headline. They're talking about Plano City Councilman Tom Harrison. He was with us for a couple of segments. He's accused of sharing a post from a Facebook page titled, "Joined Hands Across America for Trump." Well, that doesn't sound bad necessarily, depending on your political leanings. He also had a meme which showed a young girl wearing the traditional Muslim head covering, and that post said, "Share if you think Trump should ban Islam in American schools." He said, yeah. He didn't write it, but he shared it. Well, that post sparked an outcry with the Plano mayor, Harry LaRosiere, I believe is how you pronounce his name. They called for Harrison's removal from the council, and the mayor evidently is not a big fan of Trump. He boycotted Trump's meeting. The council voting Sunday, which is odd to me, to publicly admonish Harrison. They said his conduct is unbefitting a council member to serve our diverse community. I find this Facebook post abhorrent and believe this is a stain on our city, blah, 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 blah. Well, the council voted 7-1 to censure Harrison. The mayor called the only course of action available to the council. Only Harrison was the dissenting vote. So aside from Councilman Harrison, it was unanimous to publicly censure him. The mayor said the city council had learned about several equally offensive posts from Harrison, called a special council meeting over the weekend to address those. One post reportedly read, "In the 19th century, all slave owners were Democrats. In the 21st century, all slave owners are Muslims. Their allies are the Democrats." He said, Harrison told me just 30 minutes ago, "I have not seen that. I've not read that. I didn't author that. I didn't share that." Another posting showed a picture of President Lyndon B. Johnson and read, "Black children born without a father in the home before LBJ's Great Society welfare system in 1964 was 7%. That's factually accurate. Black children born without a father in the home rate after LBJ's Great Society, 2014 statistic, 73%. That also is factually accurate. And then the comment, "Hey, liberals, how's your Great Society working out for the black families?" He said, once again, Councilman Harrison told me, you heard it, "I have not seen that. I have not read that. I did not author that. I did not share that." Well, there was a backlash. I'm not exactly sure why, probably because people don't know their stats, but an apology was posted from Harrison's Facebook, apologizing to the Plano Muslim community for the unintentional hurt I may have caused by reposting something on my personal Facebook page. That's the thing he did admit to. I don't see anything wrong with what he posted, but I guess it depends on your sensibilities. They asked him to resign. He said he would not. He said, "I'm not xenophobic. I'm not a bigot. I'm not a racist. What I am is someone who was elected, told people I would do a job for everyone in Plano, and they booed him down in the meeting." And the Washington Post said Harrison was not immediately reachable for comment. Well, he came right on the show here, and I would say to the Washington Post, maybe try just a little bit harder, probably get him on. Plano's a Dallas suburb, about 25 miles from Irving. It has been at the center of anti-Muslim controversies, I'm told. Nearly 67% of Plano's 260,000 residents are white, nearly 8% black, and 17% Asian. This is the part I'm having a bit of a problem understanding. The mayor, at least from what I've read, and we've reached out to the mayor. Mayor, if you're listening, you have an open door invitation. As I said, I don't have a dog in this fight except for the truth. The mayor seems to be adversarial from the get-go. I don't know if that's politicking the constituency, or if he truly feels that way. The mayor of Plano expressed sorrow for the community, saying he was heartbroken. It's the love of this community and the citizens that I continue to serve. I serve all of you, blah, blah, basically a campaign thing. And then I fought my entire life for this hatred to go away, for this stereotype to go away. Okay, have you proven that this guy authored this or shared this or did any of this other than the Islam statement? He said he didn't see it, he didn't read it, he didn't author it, and he didn't post it. Then they called for Mr. Harrison's resignation. The mayor said he could forgive him as a member of a citizen of Plano, but not as a Plano City Council member. It sounds like the mayor wants him gone by any means. All right. My thanks for Tom Harrison coming on and talking about this. Let's go to Matt in Plano. Matt, thank you for waiting. How you doing, Matt?
Doing great. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
I've got you fine. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Well, there's several things going on here. I think that you've heard from some of the other folks that know Tom very well and know a lot about the situation, and that is Harry LaRosiere has been trying to get rid of Tom Harrison for the last 3 years because Tom has been the only member of the city council who has consistently stood with the citizens of Plano against some of the high-density housing, some of the increased traffic issues to improve the quality of life and to maintain the quality of life for the citizens of Plano. He is the only one who has consistently and always kept his word. I mean, Tom had to have his leg amputated from some medical reasons, and I think within 2 weeks of having his leg amputated, he came up there to vote on a budget. Even though he knew that he wasn't going to his side wouldn't prevail in the budget, he still was able to get up there with an amputated leg because he said he would. This is a man of outstanding character and devotion to the city. And the fact that he's on an opposite side of these issues from the mayor's been looking for any way and anything at all to possibly get rid of Tom. What happened on that day was, and this, like you said, this has not been proven in any form or fashion, even about all these posts. But when Harry initially saw that first post that everybody keeps talking about, Tom was actually in doctor's offices and was unavailable. I mean, he was just not around because he was in the doctor's offices because of his medical conditions. And so when they finally got around to getting in touch with Tom, he was pretty well blindsided by all this and not really understanding what was happening. Tom is a wonderful guy, but he's not necessarily the most Facebook and social media savvy person in the world. I think everybody who's made a mistake on an email or made a mistake in social media or pocket dialed somebody when they didn't intend to can probably recognize this. Now, there are some people who've looked into this details, and there's going to be some more information coming out about this. But the truth of the matter is, even though Tom apologized for these things that showed up on his Facebook page, it doesn't mean that he actually posted them. There's news feeds and there's ways information is pushed to people that sometimes they don't even know how it's being done. Not to mention the fact that once things actually may be shared, if they come from a third party, the third party can change that content anytime they want to, and that change shows up even if you had no idea it was going to be there. But that's all the social media side of this. And the other additional posts that showed up that they found, they were all on the same day at the same time within seconds of each other. So the things that are going on here is that we don't even know how those things got there. They weren't a pattern of behavior. It was a year and a half ago, and they went through and found this there, and he's not even sure how they got there. Had no idea what they were all about.
Well, as I said, I tried to give Councilman Harrison as much time as he needed to make his case. because I wasn't there, you weren't there. Evidently, he wasn't aware of what was going on. It sounds like, but he did say he believed the mayor and this Ann Bacchus, Democrat, were working in concert at some level to push forward this smear campaign.
Well, Ann Bacchus has been working with the mayor for years. When she ran for city council against Anthony Riccadelli, the mayor gave her money. He gave her his campaign manager in the form of a guy named Tom Gustaferio, and they worked very closely together, hand in fist. I was actually there watching them when the election was over, all getting the information at the same time, all together, all three of them. So Ann Bacchus has been one of his favorite people for the longest time. He has worked diligently to try to get her elected, and the people of Plano have rejected her. And this is just another way to try to get her back into the fold.
Well, this just in from my producer, because Ann Bacchus called us on the talk line and had some cell phone problems. The mayor has been in touch with my producer, David. He respectfully declines coming on the show.
No question about that. I wouldn't be surprised about that. One thing I want you to remember is that on those additional posts that supposedly were found, we don't know exactly where they came from, every member of the city on the special session that was called, they didn't tell Tom, they didn't tell Anthony Riccadelli, and they didn't tell Rick Smith what the content of the special session. Every other member of the city council, Angela Minor, Rick Grady, the mayor, Ron Kelly, Casey Prince, saw those additional components, and they wrote responses before the executive session was even had. So you have Tom goes in there, what's up? Rick goes in, Rick Smith goes in, what's up? Anthony Riccadelli goes, what's up? And all of a sudden, these other five people come running in there and harass and harangue and are banging their hands on the table about all this stuff. And they're like, what is this? I've never seen this before. I have no idea what you're talking about. This has been a conspiracy. This has been a contrived action by the mayor and his ilk to get rid of Tom in any form or fashion, any way that he can. And if you look at the tapes of these things, all these people were going crazy on their responses that day. And Tom and Anthony and Rick Smith were like, we just saw
Matt,
it for the first time a few minutes ago.
I hate to cut you short, but I'm way over my break. I appreciate the information. I'll comment on the mayor in just a second. I'm Rick Roberts, News Talk 820 WBAP. All right, 20 minutes after the hour. All right, City Councilman Tom Harrison, the subject of now a national controversy, spent some time with us, and we'll probably replay some of that after the bottom of the hour. It is the subject, as I say, of a national controversy now. The Washington Post has picked it up, and now it's coast to coast. So he said he didn't author those things. He didn't share those things. He didn't read those things, except for the supposed anti-Islam post, which I've read. It doesn't make sense to me why you would think this is anti-Islam. Sheriff, you think Trump should ban Islam in American schools? Well, we've banned Christianity. We've banned Judaism. We've banned just about everything. So Islam should not be the exception. That's what he put on a Facebook post. The rest of these posts about the black community, about slavery, about all this stuff, he said he didn't author, he didn't read, he'd never seen it, but he believes he's the subject of a smear campaign by the mayor of Plano and a woman, a Democrat by the name of Ann Bacchus, who ran for, I guess, unsuccessfully for the Plano City Council. Now, Ann Bacchus called into the show about 20 minutes ago, had a bad cell phone connection initially, and then I guess ran out of juice. She said, well, can I come on tomorrow? Of course you can. The mayor's got an open door policy, so do you. I seriously doubt whether Ann Bacchus will be calling us back tomorrow. After the mayor contacted us, the mayor from Plano, and said, I respectfully decline coming on the Rick Roberts Show. That's his prerogative. I know I'm not upset. Nobody is obliged to come on this radio show. You can speak if you want. Don't speak if you want. So, no, I'm not upset with the mayor for not coming on. I would imagine he's checked with the legal department, and they said the last thing you want to do is go on the Rick Roberts show. So that's fine. That's his prerogative. I don't hold a grudge. But there's another side to this story. And, Mayor, with all due respect, if you're listening, and I'm sure you are, this doesn't make sense. Either Councilman Tom Harrison is just lying to me from A to Z, or he is, in fact, the subject of a smear campaign, and somebody's behind it. He believes, Mayor, it's you, and stated this as such during the interview. He also believes Ann Bacchus is behind this smear campaign. And like I said, whether you're the mayor of Dallas or New York or Chicago or Los Angeles or Plano, Texas, it doesn't matter. The constituency deserves better. There's another side to this story, not sure what it is. I would imagine by this time, it's 4:24 Central Time, everyone has lawyered up. And I would imagine, David, I would imagine that tapes, no, they're not tapes anymore, but I would imagine somebody will be asking, and we will oblige. We've done this 100 times before in federal lawsuits on my show. We'll give them what they want.
Yeah, I have a couple requests for it already.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, like I say, we don't hand out copies of the show to anyone. You know, if you're legal counsel, if you're part of law enforcement, something like that, absolutely. We'll bend over backwards to accommodate you. But we don't send out copies of the show just to anybody listening, for the obvious reasons. All right. Mayor, I understand you don't want to come on. And Bacchus, I seriously doubt that you will be calling back now that the mayor has said he's not coming on. So we will have to see, I'm sure, in a court of law, who is behind this smear campaign, if in fact it is a smear campaign. We're going to take your calls on this. Evidently, a lot of people know about this in the city. We'll take your calls on this. And the National Guard at the southern border of the United States. Not for a day, not for two, not for a month or so, but according to Trump, I want to militarize. I want to send the troops to guard the southern border until the wall is finished. Well, that could be a long time. Your call's next. All right, welcome back. 4:33 the time. Coming up in just a little bit, another chance for you to pick up $1,000. So be listening for that. That's coming up very quickly. All right. The Plano City Council and the Plano Mayor and Ann Bacchus have all been thrust into the mix of public debate now. This is now a national controversy being reported on now by a New York newspaper, I'm told, and the Washington Post. Did he do it? He said he didn't. He did say he thought the mayor and Ann Bacchus were behind a smear campaign in some form or fashion to get him off the city council of Plano. And like I said, whether it's Dallas, New York, Chicago, L.A., or Plano, Texas, the constituents are owed the truth. Let's go to, where am I going? Alan in Plano. Alan, thank you for waiting.
Hello, Rick. Thank you for taking my call.
You bet.
I wanted to clear up just a bit as to why the story's in the Washington Post. When this story first broke and the mayor started a publicity hunt for it, a friend of Ann Bacchus named Betty Freoff came forward and began working with this. But Betty is the first respondent on a Washington Post story with 250 responses, most of them excoriating poor Tom back on February 15th. When I clicked on the name of the reporter, it said that she is a former Dallas Morning News reporter. So they have a connection. And
okay, Alan, if I could interrupt you for a second.
Sure, you bet.
Your position in all of this is what?
I'm a friend of Tom, and I have tried to represent him in a couple of places in the press. I'm a Tom Harrison advocate.
Okay. Are you an attorney?
No, I am not.
So you don't represent him legally. You're simply trying to point out some of the things surrounding this controversy.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Ann Bacchus, who is she? What is it about?
Ann Bacchus ran a campaign that was built around diversity and inclusiveness. That was those were the only things she seemed to be running on for 6 months last spring. She was defeated in a runoff in June by a conservative candidate. And as a former Democratic precinct chair, or I think she still is a Democratic precinct chair, and she was a recipient of money from Annie's List and from Wow Dems. She is supported by the Collin County Democratic Party, and she wants the office.
All right, so let me see if I'm trying to draw a common thread here. Reverse engineer. Any good investigation starts with a known and works backwards to the genesis of whatever happened.
Yes.
It appears by what, and I can only go by what Councilman Harrison said on WBAP just a little while ago, it appears that the mayor of Plano and Ann Bacchus, according to him, are working in concert for a political smear campaign, and that she perhaps wants to fill Harrison's seat?
Absolutely.
Well, that's insane. If he really didn't do this, and he said he didn't, and I would assume Facebook material is recoverable, especially if the attorneys get involved and this becomes a lawsuit. It would be so obvious, what she was doing to get that seat.
Well, it's not only obvious. I've got a picture of her on the front lawn of some people's houses the 6th of March, the week of 6th of March, collecting petitions.
Petitions for what?
Petitions for Tom's recall.
Jeez.
She's got her fingerprints all over it. She ran the press conference today at City Hall. She's out in the open.
Well, the city council can't do any more than public censure. From that point, it has to go to a recall vote.
Yes.
And that's, that can only be done by the community itself. And I would implore the community. I don't live in Plano. I want to make that clear. And I have no vested interest in the city government there, other than this is now a national controversy. And,
yes.
The truth must be brought to the surface, not necessarily for the city council, certainly not for the mayor, but the truth needs to be shown for the voting constituency in Plano.
Well, the Washington Post story comes about because Ms. Freoff is a Black Lives Matter advocate with a banner on her church, on her Facebook page. She proudly shows it.
And she plays into this how?
She is also a petitioner, a petition solicitor, and has been sitting with the main petition solicitors at stores.
Okay, so working on behalf of Tom Harrison's recall vote?
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
Yeah. There. To every story, they say there's another side to every story. Actually, there's about 15 sides to every story. And when you start drawing in all the peripheral, you get a clearer picture of what's actually happening. At least that's been my experience in life.
Yeah. So I believe she placed the first story in the Washington Post only based on the fact that she makes the first comment. She has twice addressed the city council with unrelenting excoriation of Tom Harrison. Islamophobe, racist, you name it. It's been one thing after another.
Well,
so,
if this is true, if Mr. Harrison was being totally forthright with me on the show about an hour ago, and he did not, aside from the Islam post, which I've read, I don't see anything wrong with it. It's just his opinion, and it makes sense to me. But as far as the Democrat post and the slave post and the black children born without a father post and all that stuff. By the way, that black father born outside without a father, not outside, but without a father, pre and post LBJ Great Society movement is statistically, it's accurate. I've talked about it many, many times. But it doesn't matter. He said he didn't write it. He didn't author it. He didn't post it. He didn't share it. As a matter of fact, the other post about the Democrats and Muslims, he said he didn't see it. He didn't write it. He didn't post it. So I can only go by what he said, and he was forthright enough to come on the radio, and I don't have a reputation of being really nice to politicians, so I give him credit.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wanted to point out to people that whether Tom posted it, he didn't post it. He says he didn't post it, the slavery post. But Barack Obama addressed the UN and actually decried slavery in the world. And the countries that were cited after he made that UN speech, I believe it was during his first term, were Yemen, Sudan, Ethiopia, Eritrea.
Yeah, there are plenty of countries where slavery still exists. I would advise Mr. Harrison, don't get too far afield. Doesn't matter what Obama did. Doesn't matter what he said. Doesn't matter what anybody else said, whether they hold positions of authority or not. Stay central and focused on what the issue is. And the issue is, did you do it? If you did, say, yeah, I don't see anything wrong with what he said. If you didn't do it, and it's a systematic smear campaign, then we got a problem. Not with what he said, but perhaps with a mayor and perhaps with a Democrat named Ann Bacchus, and certainly the people of Plano and the people of any city or county are owed better. You are owed the truth. All right, your chance to pick up another $1,000 just minutes ahead. And good luck. I hope you get it. Just be listening for the word. You'll get that in just a little bit. In the meantime, President Trump has ordered the National Guard to guard the southern border immediately. Trump has ordered the National Guard troops immediately to the southern U.S. border with Mexico to stop illegal immigration. The Department of Defense and Department of Homeland Security have been directed to work together with governors to deploy the National Guard to the southwest border to assist the Border Patrol. My only position on that, a lot of Border Patrol agents have been harmed and killed by drug smugglers. I hope you don't send them down there with a slingshot. That wouldn't make much sense. In the meantime, city of Plano embroiled in what was a state controversy, now a national controversy over Councilman Tom Harrison. Roy in Dallas. Roy, thank you for waiting. How you doing, Roy?
Thank you, Rick. I'm doing well. I appreciate you taking my call. I'd say one thing, Texas politics sure has changed since the time I took political science courses at North Texas State University.
Yeah.
It gets more interesting every day, and it gets deeper. And it seems like everybody's pulling out their six guns, and they're gunning for anyone who's got the title Republican attached to him. And I have to feel for Councilman Tom Harrison. And when I heard the name Ann Bacchus come up, I said, God, I remember this name. And I started digging through some of my notes, and I said, oh, well, she had political ties with whenever Barack Obama came into Dallas and Hillary Clinton needing money for fundraising. She was there on the spot with Lisa Blue and many of the other lawyers and around North Haven Road and other areas. And then I said, oh, gosh, she was also connected with providing pro bono work and working for the Islamic Association of Collin County. And it gets even deeper. She's part of the Texas Muslims Women's Foundation movement of peace in the home. And then she has a radio program on a Muslim radio station, Radio Azad, that she does from time to time. And she belongs to Empower Texas. And her full statement and scope is to place conservatives that are Democrats into local entries of government. So what does that tell you?
Well, it sounds to me like there are some people with bias, and bias is not always a bad thing as long as it's admitted. I mean, we all have bias. But it sounds like she would probably be at odds with Councilman Harrison.
And is there any reason why when you asked her and requested her to come on your program that suddenly her phone dies? Yeah, some attorneys I know, they carry a backup phone.
Well,
they carry more than one phone.
Yeah, I'll say this. She called in on the talk line, and for whatever reason, she kept dropping. She said her cell phone battery was dead. But then about 20 minutes later, the mayor of Plano called and said he respectfully declines coming on the show, and that's fine. I mean, I hear that all the time. That's his prerogative. But I doubt if he does not want to come on, I doubt if she does. So we will see, I suppose. Good call. I appreciate it very, very much. Let's go to Jeffrey in Granbury. Jeffrey, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. It's great to talk to you again. A great honor to be on your show. Kudos to the previous caller. That was some incredible information. I just want to say that if Mr. Harrison did or didn't say the comment about the black family, he should have. It would have been a public service to the community and to the nation. He would have found himself in great company, as you very well know, and as you've spoken about, Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams. These great thinkers have commented extensively on the ruinous impact that Democrat progressive policies have had on the African American family unit in particular. Again, he would have found himself in great company.
I put the, forgive me for interjecting, but I put the history of Democrats, Republicans, and racism on the website at WBAP.com at the bottom of my page. And everybody points to LBJ and the Great Society and the Civil Rights Act of '64. I think it was actually passed in '65. This was not a revisit of the Emancipation Proclamation. As his own biographer said, after he signed that, he said, and I quote LBJ, "I'll have those N-words voting for Democrats for the next century." He was almost right.
He was almost right. And the truth of the matter is the Democrats are desperate to keep the truth about their policies away from the people. They do not want that cat to get out of the bag. I will say this to conservatives, and it is very simply this. Outreach to the African-American community is as simple as this. Just tell the truth about the Democrat Party. It's just that simple.
I said it at the top of the show, in line exactly with what you're saying. I've talked to black activists in Chicago for the first time in a long time, this last presidential election. They didn't turn out, the black community didn't turn out in force for the Democrats. They didn't automatically run to Trump. They just didn't vote. And it's like so many of them have said, we've been voting for Democrats for 50 years. Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing. All the black community wants, they're not looking for handouts and welfare. They don't want welfare. They want good-paying jobs to support their family.
They want a level playing field. I mean, look around the country and what do you see? In Democrat-run city after Democrat-run city, they are slaughterhouses.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous. It really is. It's time to hold Democrat Party leaders accountable. It really is.
Yeah, I think that's why they're going after other voting blocks. I appreciate, Jeffrey, the call very much. I'm out of time. I'm not going to let the Plano thing go. I'm not going to let it go because it's not so much the size of the city to me, but it's the principle of the thing. It's about luck. And I'm not saying this to be valid. I don't know. But if there is a legitimate, valid smear campaign against Mr. Harrison, that's bad enough. You need to ferret it out who's responsible. But if it has anything to do with the mayor or this Ann Bacchus, the constituents are owed the truth. They're not owed to be manipulated and choreographed like those kids a couple Saturdays ago based on emotion and, let's get this guy. He's a racist. He's a bigot. He's a xenophobe. I've done a little checking within the last hour. I don't see that in his history. So let's find out the truth. We'll do that together. God's blessings on each and every one of you, whether we agree or not, is always my priority. Stick around, Mark Levin. He's up next. I'll be back with you for the afternoon drive, 2 to 5 tomorrow on News Talk 820 WBAP.
That's the only way I know. Don't stop till everything's gone. Straight ahead and never turn